is you work really hard during the week, as hard as you can, 12 hours, 14-hour days, whatever. And on the weekends, when you're at home or with your family or whatever, carve out a few hours to think, which means turn off the phone, you're not texting, you're not looking at Instagram and so forth, and think and write down your assessment of what you did last week and then what you need to do next week to address the things you forgot to do last week. I know that sounds kind of obvious, but it's a good trick because it forces you to take charge of your next week.
The most important thing is probably keep betting on yourself and bet again and roll the dice and roll the dice. What happens as you get older is you realize that these opportunities were in front of you and you didn't jump for them. Why? You were in a bad mood, or you didn't know who to call, or so forth. Life can be understood as a series of opportunities that are put before you, and they're time limited. I was fortunate that I got the call after a number of people had turned it down to work for and with Larry and Sergey at Google. Changed my life, right? But that was luck and timing. And he said, but you did one thing right. I said, what? He said, you said yes. So your philosophy in life should be to say yes to that opportunity. And yes, it's painful, and yes, it's difficult, and yes, you have to deal with your family, and yes, you have to travel to some foreign place and so forth. Get on the airplane and get it done.
Work very, very, very hard to figure out what the world's going to look like in 5 years. What will people be doing? What will your customers want? Where will costs will be? In our case, what will networks look like? How important will phones be? What will the apps look like? What services? And spend an awful lot of time on that. And then take a look at your offerings. What are the strongest ones? Which are the ones that are going to iterate quickly? You're probably going to do fine there. You understand those businesses. What about these others? If you think about in the media business, there are media businesses that are growing very well and others that are in great trouble. This was completely predicted 5 years ago, right? So the leaders in the ones that are in trouble should have, right, done a 5-year plan and said, holy cow, what are we going to do? What are the things we can do? Or maybe we sell ourselves or we try something different. But almost all of these strategic shifts are predictable using my 5-year model. Almost nobody does a 5-year plan. Most businesses do a 1 to 2 year plan. Especially in our space, but even in most businesses. The only business that I discovered that does a 5-year or longer plan is the oil and gas industry. And the reason is because they have to deploy so much capital and do all this planning. But even there, they have trouble because the prices go up and down and so forth. So even there, it's difficult.